Good morning, podcasters. Let's talk about merch. Howdy, y'all. I hope you're having a great Friday. Happy Friday the 13th. Hope it's not too spooky for you. Sorry. My name is Fuzz Martin, and this is Good Morning Podcasters, a show where we explore marketing, advertising, public relations, and social media topics as they connect to the podcasting industry. And more importantly, how you can connect them to your podcast. The idea for this show is to provide you with practical, actionable ideas. I have no place for gurus or those who want to pump you up and make you feel good. I'm a doer. I want you to be able to do. So let's do. Today, I want to talk to you about merchandise. So here's what we're going to discuss. 1, do you need merch? 2, is it worth it? 3, what kind of merch should you get? And 4, how do you do it? It'll be pretty high level. Sound good to you? Sounds good to me. Let's get into it. Do you need merch? Let me answer that question with some questions. Is your audience asking for merch, or do you just want to have some merch for yourself? Who is going to purchase your merch? Where are they going to wear your merch? Will merch help others start listening to your show? Do you know anyone with a podcasting t-shirt? Do you know anyone who wears podcasting t-shirts besides Ed Kennard of the Greatest Song Ever Sung Poorly podcast? Depending on the size of your audience base and the rabidness of your audience, it might be a good idea, but it also might not. Podcast merchandise might also be good if you're, say, going to a conference or trade show, speaking at an event, if you have a local presence, or if you have a nationally recognized show. So number 2, is it worth it? Is having merchandise for your show worth the money and time involved in getting it up and running? It might be, but you need to be careful. Here are some things that I recommend you look out for. Number 1, unless you have a crazy large following and brand, and you know that people are itching to get your hands on that brand, don't buy merchandise in bulk. You don't want to have a garage or a basement full of boxes of t-shirts in size medium, small, large, extra large, double XL, etc. You don't want those sitting around molding in your basement. Little anecdote for you. I run a nonprofit. I was convinced to purchase a bunch of t-shirts for a fundraiser, which was a great event, and we raised a ton of money. We also spent $2,600 on approximately 275 t-shirts, and I have approximately $2,000 worth of t-shirts left. It's not a good place to be, and you don't want to be there with your show. So I highly recommend not buying a whole ton of merch in bulk unless you know that you have the audience that is going to support and move that. And how do you know? You'll know. Or you can just ask them. Do a survey. Do a pre-order. And number 2, and is it worth it? You need to be sure that your audience is clamoring for merch. It's typically a low margin product, so unless you can sell t-shirts at $30 a piece or move a lot of volume, the upfront work might not be worth your time. All right, 3rd question, what kind of merch should you get for your show? The type of merch you should purchase completely depends on your audience, your genre, your podcast's brand personality, etc. Some like overarching ideas are, of course, t-shirts, stickers, hoodies, coffee mugs, water bottles. There are hundreds of different ideas and thousands of different ideas. And depending on your show, there might be some custom items that might make sense for your audience. Let's say you run a podcast about beer. I'm looking at you, Dave, from Beer in Front. You could create custom can koozies. I'd buy one of those. My wife has an education podcast. She often speaks at conferences. We've created notebooks for teachers with the show's logo on them and they're a big hit. So depending on your audience and your topic, could be some great ideas. Get creative with it. People love free stuff. Just make sure that they're going to use it and that it also might help others find your show. It's all about discoverability, right? And finally, how do you get your merch created? Again, unless you have thousands of listeners each month, I don't recommend buying a boatload of merch and hoping it sells. You might get caught holding the bag and left dropping off giant boxes of Your Podcast Here t-shirts at Goodwill. Instead, I recommend starting with a print-on-demand service. With a print-on-demand service, you will get less margin per item, but you won't have to worry about storing inventory or even shipping that inventory when it sells. The items are made by the drop shipper and shipped directly to your listener on demand. There are a number of print-on-demand sites out there with good catalogs. I've used two, and I've been happy with both of them. Threadless has a very easy-to-set-up store you can create and point your listeners to. The merchandise quality is okay. It's serviceable. It's good. I've got a hoodie from there that I wear all the time, and it's about 4 years old. It's worn out, but it's comfy. The other site that I use very regularly is Printful. Printful is cool because it will connect with WordPress, Squarespace, Shopify very easily. It also connects with Etsy, Wix, eBay, Weebly, Amazon, a whole bunch of others as well. Printful has a great catalog of products that you can choose from, both for screen printing type or digital printing type products or embroidery. And they've got hundreds of easy to follow videos that will help you get started. And you can even get a store. You could have a store up and running in 15 minutes. Soup to nuts, as they say. You get to set the price for your merchandise on Printful and how much markup you want to receive. They calculate the shipping, and then you can customize your invoices, the tags on clothing, your confirmation emails, all to wrap your brand up. The only real problem I see with Printful is that you have to sell shirts at a pretty steep price in order to make any money. But if you want your fans to be able to get merchandise about your show and you don't want to pay anything up front or you don't want to have a stock of product on hand, then I think Printful is the right store for you. When it comes to design and what your show's merchandise should look like, that's a whole nother episode. There are a ton of different ways you can go with that. Maybe we'll talk about that on a future show. That will do it for today's episode of Good Morning Podcasters. If you have questions for the show, I am very accessible. Email me, fuzz@goodmorningpod.com. That's fuzz, F-U-Z-Z, at goodmorningpod.com, or shoot me a DM on Twitter at GMPodcasters. New episodes on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you Monday right here on Good Morning Podcasters.